Hello, everybody. Let's get well mentally. Yes, this podcast is all about you. You are not alone. Your guide to mental wellness. It's a podcast that is a joint production of KJLH and the Chicago School, which has been training and educating multiculturally competent mental health care professionals for nearly 50 years. Kudos to the Chicago School. Our program is committed to educating our community about mental health and wellness and normalizing conversations about our mental health because they are just not as normal as they should be, especially today. Our community disproportionately suffers from a number of serious mental health issues, including anxiety and depressive disorders. More than 16% have reported having a serious mental health issue in the past. Our program will explore mental health and wellness issues that impact us, well as explore ways that we can improve our wellness. Every week, I'm joined by mental and behavioral health experts who will share their experience and expertise to help us on our journey to good health and satisfying lives. I'm joined today with two mental health professionals based in Southern California, Dr. Trayvon McKay and Jarvis Sams. Hi, gentlemen.
Hello.
Black men and mental health. I am so excited about this podcast, all right? Please welcome Dr. McVay.
How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Dr. McVay is a graduate from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology with a degree in applied clinical psychology. Dr. McVay has completed his master's in psychology and bachelor's in sociology from Grand Canyon University after being in the mental health field for over 10 years. Dr. McVay also completed a postdoctoral degree of science in clinical psychopharmacology. Dr. McVay is a clinical director and emphasizes raising awareness and providing psychoeducation. Dr. McVay is interested in youth mentorship. Having come from an adverse childhood, Dr. McVay takes pride in supporting at-risk youth and teaching them lifelong lessons. I have to say right now, that's dope. But secondly, I do not know any of this that you have studied, my brother, like psychopharmacology. I have to know what that's about. And psychoeducation, what is that?
Psychopharmacology is the degree gives psychologists prescriptive authority. So psychiatrists are not the only ones in our field that's allowed to do it. And psychoeducation is just bringing awareness to people, teaching them why they go through what they go through or deal with some of the things that they deal with, the challenges they have.
So then psychopharmacology means that the psychologist can prescribe medication?
Yes.
Am I getting that right?
Yes. So they're bringing that to California. They're working on that now. We are, I believe, 6 or 7 states where psychologists are allowed.
Y'all getting fancy on us regular people, but that's why we're here to learn.
Yes.
Jarvis Sams is an associate marriage and family therapist in Los Angeles and has been a practicing clinician on and off for the last 12 years, working in private practice settings, community, mental health, and was an administrative adjunct faculty member for 4 years at a local institution in Pasadena, California. Jarvis found this career path through his own personal therapeutic journey in which he realized the field was lacking diversity. He hopes to serve clients from underrepresented and underserved communities and hopes they will see someone from their community and feel comfortable with starting their own therapeutic process. I hope the same thing, for sure. At the urging of his late mother, Jarvis and his wife started Reconnect Marriage and Family Counseling, a private practice, in July of 2021 with the primary philosophy of working in communities that may lack access to therapeutic resources. Welcome, Mr. Sams.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for keeping Black love alive. For sure. So let's begin with you, Mr. Sams. Yeah. You are a licensed marriage and family therapy counselor. So what does that mean and what kind of work do you do?
So a marriage and family therapist, there's a little bit of a difference between psychology and marriage and family therapy. The long and short of it is family systems, right? So marriage and family therapist is going to look at it from a family systems point of view.
Okay.
And to make that in a layman's term, how your family affects how you function in the world.
Ah, got it.
Okay. So that's what an MFT does. We're looking at it from a family systems point of view.
Before you go on,
Yes, ma'am.
how the family affects how you work in the system. Can I get an example?
Yes. So there's this term that I'm sure the doctor to the left of me will understand. It's something called modeling behavior, right? So an example of modeling behavior would be if you are a parent, you're showing your child how to actually work in the world, right? You're showing them the behavior of how to be in the world. And it may not even be your child directly. It could be your niece, your nephew, your younger cousin, your sister, your sibling.
Right.
You're modeling the behavior for them to go out into the world and actually function appropriately. What if perhaps in your family it is dysfunctional? So what's being modeled for you is dysfunction. So what do you bring to the world? You bring dysfunction to the world.
Oh. I was looking for something more specific, but that's pretty general, but I get it. It clicked.
It's clicked.
It's clicking.
Right.
Yeah. So I do get it.
Okay.
So if you don't have a dysfunctional family,
then you more than likely are functioning in a world and in society that seems typical or the normative.
so if you play, like, let's say you're a person who plays the victim all the time. Is that a way that would have worked within the system of your family?
You probably saw victimization in your family.
Okay.
And thus it makes you comfortable feeling like a victim, right?
Okay.
Or victimizing someone. So I can go really deep on this one. I
Right.
don't know if you want me to go there.
Hey, we here. I'm not alone, am I?
All right, you're not alone. You're not alone.
Okay.
So I did not list this in my bio, but one of the jobs that I do is I'm a director where I work with formerly incarcerated individuals.
Okay.
Those individuals who are formerly incarcerated, right? I'll put it out there, they're sex offenders.
Okay.
Okay. These sex offenders typically were victimized. Like we'd say about 90% of them has some type of victimization in their life.
Right.
Thus, they perpetrate onto others.
Right.
Because the behavior was modeled for them, and now they're doing the behaviors.
So I have a friend who, the women that he picks, since we're talking about black men, the women that he picks are women that he has to save. He comes from the foster care system. So do you think it's because he wanted to be saved that he saves?
So I come from the foster care system too,
Okay.
10-year foster kid. So to answer your question, it's very likely. Either he wanted to be saved or he did a lot of saving in the foster home.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I
that
think
makes
that
sense.
term is called repetition compulsion, where he's repeating what he saw or what he experienced growing up.
Okay. So let's talk about the stigma surrounding mental illness and mental health in our community when it directly involves black men.
Well, I mean, we can go broad with it, but
But I like specifics already. In this little 5 minutes, you already know I like
it's
to
hard
get
for
deep.
African American men to go to therapy for numerous reasons.
Okay.
One is, it's predominantly white therapists. It's hard for us to go to the people that we feel did the oppressing.
Oh.
Right.
Oh.
So it's a struggle. We feel judged. We feel that we're frowned upon. So why would I come share what I'm struggling with you?
Just in that statement alone, like it really brings tears to my eyes because I have to admit I'm one of those people who have maybe dogged men out, black men out for not wanting to go to therapy. And I kind of had the attitude of, y'all think y'all know everything. That's why you don't want to go. And so I think that directly affects the woman that's with the black man or the way that he handles or deals with women or the women that deal with them. So to hear that from you saying, hey, we don't want to tell our problems to our oppressor, that's a whole different perspective, dude.
And the attitude that you get from the male is a defense mechanism.
Right.
Right. So
right.
he probably would want help, but it's also hard to go to the black male if that guy is a therapist as well.
Why is that?
That man wasn't present in our lives as
oh my God,
so
stop
why
it.
would we want to go there? And black people, black men, are in competition with one another, rather than being there to help one another. So me coming to you, it's a mindset, right? I would feel like if I'm going to a male therapist that this man may feel bigger than me. He may feel or belittle me in some sense. So that's a struggle. So every direction that we look in, we find some type of resistance,
A barrier, a wall.
that keeps us back from doing anything.
And I guess I don't have to ask why you don't want to go to the woman, black, white, or any other woman, right?
Yeah, because I don't mean to.
No.
If
I'm
you go
with
to
you
the
on
black woman as a man, it's emasculating, like, right? So I feel like I can't be the type of man that I need to be because I'm going to a woman for help. Then we're taught in the black homes that if we're dealing with anything, just deal with it.
Be a
Right.
man. Deal with
Be
it.
a man. Don't deal with it. Don't cry. Don't do anything like that because that will cause more conflict in our already confrontational home.
Right.
So yeah, I want to piggyback off of that. So I want to first of all say don't feel like that way. So I'm on to my second marriage. My first marriage, I actually told my ex-wife, I say, if you find a black male therapist, I'll go to couples counseling. It took her 6 months. 6 months to find a black male therapist. But she was diligent because she knew she wanted to save the marriage
Right.
and that, hey, somewhere deep in Jarvis, he wants to save the marriage as well. Why I say don't feel that way was one, I was trying to stonewall. I was trying to make it difficult because I knew just innately there's not many black men doing this.
Right.
Right. So, but then there was also, he may not even get me. That was another thing that was going on. Going in to talk to someone and feeling, hey, this person may tell me I'm wrong for feeling the way I feel. Emotions are very difficult for men in general to talk about. And that's what therapy is about. It's about talking about your emotions.
Right.
So you're asking men to open up about their emotions, and we've been told to bottle them. So now you've been taught that has nothing to do with black, white, indifferent. It has everything to do with what the Western culture says to men.
Right.
Bottle your emotions and don't let them out.
Do either of you believe that white men have this issue with therapy?
I think they have better access to mental health, the mental health component in this sense. I think they have been use the word preordained, but that's not a good word, but conditioned
Right.
to accept mental health as just part of their health system.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Whereas because, this
they don't
was
have the stigma attached to it
Right.
that black and brown people have.
I mean, look at our health outcomes in general as black people.
Yeah.
Right. One of the things that comes to mind often is the Tuskegee experiment, right?
Of course.
And how that affected African American men that in the early 1900s and into the 1960s, 1970s, when they finally got revealed that they had given these men syphilis. Right. And as an experiment. So if you're going to experiment on me, or if you look at black women, it's the field of gynecology was an experiment on slave women.
Yes, it was.
Right. And so therefore, that's where it came from. So the stigmatization of being an African American or a black person in this country and going into a health systems and asking them to provide me with support, never going to happen. I don't trust you. Even people that actually look like me, sometimes I have a hard time trusting. That's how most of us look at it from just the system point of view. So when I say underserved, underrepresented populations and giving them access, what I mean by that is I like the fact, and I wish I had taken your cue, I would rather come dressed like this because I'd rather you feel like, hey, that's the homie.
Right.
I'm going to come talk to the homie versus this straight-laced, business-looking professional
with a tie
guy,
and a shirt.
and the patches on his elbows.
Right. The nice little red cufflinks.
Right. That kind of stuff. Like the reality of it is if you saw me in therapy, when I do therapy, I got my Timbs on because I'm an East Coast guy. I got my sweatshirts on,
Right.
and I'm just a regular dude.
Yeah,
right?
'cause
So-
I thought you was the doctor and he was not.
Right. So the reality of it is, and that's how I framed my entire practice.
Right.
I wanted you to be able to feel accessible. So if I walk into whether the 7-Eleven or into a lecture hall, I want you to feel like you're represented.
Right.
And then you are going to be more comfortable coming in to talk to me.
So when we talk about these issues that Black men have with therapists, what's the answer?
Issues as far as
What's the answer as far as how do you change what the course is right now? When you say, I can't go to a white man, he's the oppressor. I can't go to someone that looks like me because he's never been there for me. I can't go to a woman. So then what is the answer? How do you change that course, that trajectory?
I think that at some point in our lives, we have to face the music. I think that we can't continue to use past things as an excuse to prevent us from moving forward.
Right.
So what I mean is, at some point, you figure out, how do I fix this? Right? Maybe I need to challenge the perceptions. I need to challenge the perception that a white therapist can't help me. Challenge the perception that an African-American male can't help me.
But if
or
we're
a
talking
woman.
about mental, and I don't mean to cut you off, Dr. McVay, but if we're talking about the mentality, how do you even come to that mentality? That's not something that I'm just going to change tomorrow if I've had years of this distrust, as you say.
Right, but that still would answer the question, right? You still have to challenge the perception that you're internalizing. Also, just seeing people like athletes come to the forefront with their issues, friends starting to
I want to talk
pour
about
out.
that. That's a good point you make, because so many Black celebrities have recently come forward to share their struggles with mental health. Athletes, singers, performers, actors. There has really been this, I don't want to say trend of people saying, hey, look, I've got issues and they're mental and I need help and y'all need to seek some help too. Really.
They're challenging the
has
perception.
that helped?
Yes, absolutely. We find more and more African American men are coming to therapy. You can tell that they're emotionally dysregulated, that there's a lot of resistance there, that there's fear. But they're starting to do it because of what they're starting to see. We know the effects of social media.
It's the modeling behavior.
We're taking it back to,
Someone's modeling the behavior. This is okay. Okay, maybe I can try. I mean, it can be a gift and a curse too. Sometimes someone is actually saying, I think of a lyric by one of these rappers, and this guy says, you don't want to see, I'm not going to use the N-word, his brother off of his Lexapro, right? Well, now...
That's a lyric?
Oh yeah,
you be deep into them.
Oh yeah, and I'm also a clinician. I'm like, whoa. Now we got people coming in asking about Lexapro that they don't understand. It's
like when NWA was talking about Fat Burger. Ice Cube was talking about Fat Burger. Everybody was going to Fat Burger, right?
Right.
Okay.
And so it's like, no, you may not need Lexapro. Talk therapy does work. That means you don't necessarily need medication. You can actually just come and talk to someone for your depression, because Lexapro is a medication for depression.
So they're not just selling sneakers. They're selling Lexapro.
But they don't realize that they are opening up a Pandora's box for clinicians in this respect, that it's like, okay, and now we got to put you back in Pandora's box, which is very difficult, right? It's like explaining, like, maybe that is a good thing, maybe it's not. I mean, the reality of it is I am glad, I'm 100% excited about seeing athletes and celebrities in general coming forward, because it is making people want to come out and have access to it.
Agreed.
But I think what they have to do is consider, I'm not a professional, go see a professional, right? Versus writing frivolously. I think of one guy in particular, an athlete. I remember it like it was yesterday. He had just won the world championship, the Lakers. and Meta World Peace ran out and said, I want to thank my therapist.
Yes, I remember that.
Right?
I remember that.
And he's like, this ring is for you, whatever her name was. I can't remember what her name was, but it was pretty funny to me because I was like, wow, he literally just said, I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for her, because I was in this space and now I'm in this space.
Right.
And if you look at who formerly Ron Artest was,
right,
to who Meta World Peace is, it's a completely different person.
Right.
And so I love that story because that's the story of what therapy can do for someone. So
what is the impact of racism and discrimination of the mental health of Black men?
The impact is heavy. I mean, again, racism keeps us away from therapy, because it's predominantly whites and other races, and why would we want to go to it? There would be no purpose. It appears counterproductive to us.
I think the impact of racism is just as Dr. McVay said. I also would like to add that the hope is that they will get access to an African American or a Black therapist first to understand what therapy is, right, and get a frame of what it can be, and maybe because there's this whole thing, the thought process. My thought process as a clinician is, I can only take you so far, right, and then I need to pass you on to someone else, right? So that someone else may look like me or they may not look like me, but I hope that I've opened up the window of opportunity to you to see, oh, this is how this works. And now I can actually go into there. I think what it is I wonder if the clinicians on the other side of the table that don't look like Dr. McVay and myself, right, understand the culture that they're talking to. Right. African Americans, Latino Americans, Black and brown folks everywhere have been acculturated to this Western society that does not look anything like them. We know how to function in their society, but most of them come into our communities and they have no idea how to.
So I want to ask you before we go, it's almost time to go here. How do you convince a Black man to go to therapy, Dr. McVay?
You be the example.
That's a good one.
I went to therapy. I'm a spiritual man. Part of my therapy consisted of, church, prayer, worship, music, things like that. But it just gave me the courage to go sit in front of somebody and have a conversation. So, as he stated, when I go into an office and I look like them, they respond to that. Right? But I can also inform them, hey, this works. I did it. Let me show you how. And there's a domino effect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your answer?
I would agree.
Jarvis?
I would definitely agree. The irony of it is the start on this field, I lived right in Lamert. I'll never forget it. And I started to go to Chicago school back in 2011. And I was living in Lamert, and I knew I was probably the only person in my area that was wanting to become a therapist or a psychologist or what have you. And I didn't even know what was the difference at the time. But it was going to therapy and seeing my Black male therapists that looked like me, said, oh, I could do this not only as a therapist, but I can help my community.
Excellent.
And so just by being accessible, it makes a major difference. They know that I know their experience. They know that I have a very similar upbringing. Right. And it's easier for a kid that sees me on the block, of course, to be able to say, oh, he looks like me, he resembles me, and I'm willing to talk to him. And he
gets to say, I am not alone. Exactly. Right? Yeah, he gets to say, I am not alone. Thank you both for joining us today. I want to thank my guests, Dr. Trayvon McVay and Jarvis Sams, for being on the program. We hope you learned a few things about mental health and wellness today. I have to say, I did. I really did. And if you want to find out more, visit our websites. We'll provide those links in a bit. We'll also have some helpful resources resources as well as more information about our guests. So we hope you will come back and join us on our next program. And remember, we wish you well on your journey to good health and satisfying lives. You are not alone. This is your guide to mental wellness. I'm Tammy Mack.
The opinions expressed by our guests or host do not necessarily reflect the views of KJLH Los Angeles or the Chicago School. The Chicago School or KJLH Los Angeles are not responsible for the consequences of any actions based on information or resources provided in these programs. The Chicago School and KJLH Los Angeles disclaim any liability related to any podcast content.